Today we're going to be speaking about the exact way that we are going to gain success in this life, the Deen, and inshallah in the Akhirah, based on those who are truly successful. Let's think about the 99% of Muslims, right? Since we want to become 1%, let's name this 99% Muslim average Abdullah. What is the life of average Abdullah? He probably goes to madrasa and he goes to school. He's forced to do well. He has to do well. So he doesn't really care about doing anything. He doesn't really train at all. He only really touches religion throughout his school career at Eid and Ramadan. And, he starts dabbling in haram as a teenager since the kuffar are doing it and their parents don't really make him not do it. Music, haram relationship, all these things. And probably what happens to average Abdullah is he goes to university to do a random course because he has to. His parents make him, so he just chooses corporate because he doesn't even like it, just has to do it. And so he does it, and he does a little bit more haram. He engages in the scene. And he's still, engaging with the Deen, Eid, Ramadan. He gets a job. Probably hates the job, but he has to get it because he just took riba on his new house and his BMW, so he has to pay it back. And so he works hours and hours and hours on a job that he hates. He gets a wife, maybe she's also not her Deen, maybe she's even a kafir. And they have kids. They don't really teach the kids the Deen, but they like each other kind of, but they fall out of love. Maybe there's even adultery in that marriage. And so because of all this bad stuff and the state of his life, he uses haram habits, alcohol, drugs, partying, even adultery to cope with his life, watching haram and these things. Even wasting time, honestly. And he does this over and over and over and over again. He maybe pays off the house and he dies. And now he has to answer the three questions. Who is your Lord? Who is your messenger? And what is your Deen? Now, I'm not saying this is everyone, but this is everything we don't want to be. Everything we don't want to be is in average Abdullah. And the sad thing is that the average Abdullah is like this. I don't love thinking about that, but it's true. But to get away from this reality, to get to something greater, I'm going to introduce you to my 5.1% framework that is going to get us from never becoming the average Muslim, never becoming this 99% Muslim, to becoming a 1% Muslim. And it's inspired by the principles used by the true 1% Muslims, the true successful ones, the Sahaba, in their Deen, the Dunya, and inshallah, the way that they got success in the Akhirah. We want that as well. Point number one is the average Muslim versus the 1% Muslim. Now, we've covered what it's like to live the average Muslim existence. Average Abdullah, average cultural Muslim, or even a real Muslim in a Western society, basically. But what is the life of the 1% Muslim? The Sahaba. The best of generations of the Muslim Ummah, and honestly of Insan, right? You look at the state of their heart, the state of their actions, their Islam, and honestly, the way that they strove in Dunya and succeeded in Dunya. I'm not talking about poor people. I'm talking about, this is not a measure for their status. Their best is their iman and their state of their heart. But the way that they strove in dunya, they were fit, they were strong, they were, they had money, they had power, they had knowledge in dunya. These are men who succeeded in all the realms that there is to succeed. Because the problem with us today is that we look at kuffar, or we looked at, flawed Muslims as role models. Flawed Muslims who, may Allah guide them and us and give us tawfiq to follow the Sahaba. But most of us, we follow the self-improvement idols. I'd say, even when I started Islamic self-improvement, before I really got into seeking knowledge, my heroes were still those guys. But our heroes shouldn't be, they should be the Anbiya. May Allah send peace and blessings upon all of them. It should be the Sahaba. May Allah be pleased with all of them. These are heroes that, I think a lot of Deen that's taught to us is not that we don't learn how these men strove in the Deen and the Dunya, because that is the ultimate goal of Islamic self-improvement. The ultimate goal is to become Rijal. The ultimate goal is to become like the Sahaba, or as much of the Sahaba as we can, because these are heroes. These are the example of what we want as a success, which is success in this life and the next. And so what did they do? How did they succeed? They succeeded in Deen through what? The 1% Muslim, his ibadah is next level. The Sahaba, night prayer, Taraweeh, their Quran. People would finish the Quran in a few weeks, days. This was not like a once in a lifetime. The amount of Huffaz, the amount of people who seek, and I'll talk about this now, but knowledge, the baseline knowledge of a Muslim. Who was it? Mus'ab ibn Umayr radiallahu anhu. He was not scrolling TikTok, watching brain rot, GTA things, listening to red pill content. Mus'ab ibn Umayr was there doing da'wah every day, getting people by the will of Allah to be guided to Islam. People are not in the nar because of him by the will of Allah. That is what kids were doing. Kids like Mu'adh and Mu'awwidh, may Allah be pleased with them, dying fi sabilillah. Kids like Abdullah ibn Umar, crying, being sad that he couldn't go and battle in Uhud. That is what they did. Their deen, their strive, their sacrifice, their knowledge, their ibadah in a sense. Yani the concept of 5-time namaz is not a thing. It's a part of you. Next is your dunya. The way that they strove in dunya seriously. But they did it to gain the dunya and use it for khair. You know, I was reading some passages in the Quran of, yani, in English of course, but like where Allah Azza wa Jalla, like some mu'mineen were advising a person of status in terms of the worldly life and power to use that to buy the next life. To use what has been given to you in this world to get the next. Right? And what would happen if you don't, etc. Right? But that is such a concept that the Sahaba truly did grasp. I mean, you look at the Jannah bound Sahaba, they were not all broke. And I'm not saying that, and this is a problem with us. Even I believe that poverty is not piety. Piety and zuhud is a state of the heart. What can you do with that money is what we should follow in the Sahaba's footsteps. Not to buy yachts and get chicks and models. I don't care about that. Why do we get the dunya? Why should we strive for all the elements of the dunya as men? To gain it and use it for khair. And we'll speak about that more in point number 4 in this video. But when you look at people like Abdurrahman ibn Auf, I think there was a story, I remember it, where like the Sahaba had just come from Mecca to Medina, right? They had just done the Hijrah. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he kind of split them up with the Ansar. And he paired one Ansar with one person from Mecca, right? And so I remember Abdurrahman ibn Auf, he had a partner who was like, he was ready to give him half his wealth, he was ready to give him one of his wives, he was ready to give him everything, right? In half. And that is akhlaq. You see the Ansar with their akhlaq, but look at how the response is. The response is, oh, thank you so much. Yes, I don't have much. No. Abdurrahman says, show me to the marketplace. Show me to the marketplace. He got all his wealth back by the will of Allah Azza wa Jal. Why? Because he was good at what he did. And what did he do with that money? Did he go and buy yachts and go to Dubai and he get all these kafir chicks and do whatever? No. Why? What did he do? He used his wealth. He used his skills. He used his power and everything that he had in this dunya to strive for Allah Azza wa Jal. Now are we going to get to that level of strife? Maybe not. But can we take from that example? 100%. Get really freaking good at what you do so that you can use that in the path of Allah Azza wa Jal. So we can follow the advice from the Quran. This is why we strive for dunya, and we'll get more into this. But what is the 1% Muslim? He strives for the akhirah first. You know, I truly believe that you cannot truly enjoy this dunya at its fullest extent if you are not akhirah focused. You will never feel that peace. Even for me, you know, recently I won't even lie, like, you know, I've had a downturn of iman, and you know, that's normal, and we gotta keep fixing that. And inshallah, we're gonna do a lot more today. I'm gonna focus more. I've been a bit laxed, a bit stressed with other things in the dunya, and you know, catches you. We should be focused on the akhirah. We should have goals for the akhirah. Who of us say that my goal is not just Jannah? Jannah for those. I wanna be there. And we'll talk about chasing status in Jannah later, but this is what our heroes did. This is what we strive for. You know, you look at the Jannah bound Sahaba, this is what they wanted most of all. There was the story of the Sahaba with the date. And basically they were in war. I don't remember which war. It was either Uhud or Badr. And one of the Sahaba, he was like, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was like motivating the army. And he was like, I think he said yes, or he said like bakh, basically. Like he was very excited when he responded to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave him the glad tidings of Jannah. And so he sits down, he eats the date. And he looks at it, and he's like, this date is holding me back from Jannah, basically. And so he drops the date, he picks up his sword, runs into the thick of the battle, and dies, fisabilillah. Are you ready to give up this dunya for the akhirah? That is what they did. You put the akhirah number 1. Your strive, your goal in this dunya is truly the akhirah. It's not just the dunya. And that's the thing that we do not do in terms of watching our role models of this dunya. They don't do that. The true role models were the Sahaba, who, yes, they wanted dunya, to serve the deen, to be good, to follow their responsibilities, to not have money problems, so that you don't have to be absolved for the kuffar, basically. They were their own power. But what did they use their power for? To spread the deen. But ultimately, they would give all of it up. Are you ready to give up everything you have for the deen? Are you ready to turn away haram money? Are you ready to turn away family members in the sense that what they want you to, what they call you towards? Are you ready to do that? Are you ready to stand upon the haqq? Are you ready to think about the akhirah more than this dunya? That is what our heroes did. That is how we strive. That is the goal. That is the ultimate. And that is our role. Those are our role models, not the infidels, not the Muslims who have faults. And may Allah grant us all tawfiq to fix our faults. But this is a 1% Muslim. This is a high value. It's not a high value. This is a high value man. Okay, I hate using that terminology, but let's just understand what the true success is. Now, this is what 0.00001% true success is, following the path of those who were truly successful before us, the Sahaba. Number 2 is Tawbah, which is creating a clean slate. Now, honestly speaking, I think a lot of us are very laxed when it comes to Tawbah, and it's not a good thing. You know what's crazy? The fact that Shaitan can convince us that we can't ask Allah for forgiveness when Allah is Ar-Rahman. Allah makes it so easy to gain His forgiveness, and we make it hard. Why? Because we listen to lies of our enemy. Lies. You know how easy it is to get, I don't think you understand. If you were just you don't know what Allah is capable of, or at least we're not accepting it. We don't want to accept it. Allah Azza wa Jal, if you just asked Him to forgive you, asking, not even doing salah, asking, truly meaning it, could Allah forgive you? Yeah. Has He done it before? Yeah. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. So 99% of Muslims barely do any istighfar, even though our Prophet, peace be upon him, no matter if he was sinless, he still did it. Most of us don't do tawbah. You look at the Sahaba, when they did something wrong, Umar ibn Khattab, when he did something wrong as a ruler, the first thing he did, he either wanted forgiveness from the person he wronged, or he went to the mat, he prayed and asked forgiveness. This is the example. 99% of Muslims are also still stuck in haram habits. And if you want to significantly decrease your haram habits in 90 days, links in the description. If you want free resources for helping this out, it's also there in the 10x Deen Dunya. But this is the condition of 99%. 99% are just stuck with these sins on their account, and they don't do anything about it. I mean, our purpose of existence is to get to worship Allah. And when we do something wrong, we don't even want to correct it. That's the condition. So how do we get ahead of 99% of Muslims? Number 1, tawbah. Do it now, after this video ends, or even better if you pause this video and go and do it. I'm dead serious. Go and do tawbah right now. You have so many sins you could just get wiped from your account if you just got away from the waswasa. Stop letting shaitan beat you, because you are accepting this. You are literally saying, yes, shaitan, I will keep my sins on your account so you can win. No, this is not our condition. We are not 99%. We want to be 1%. So the 1% do tawbah and mean it. So how do you do tawbah? Essentially, this is based on Ibn Qudama in his book on the discipline, the path to success. The first part is sincerity. You have to have ikhlas with your want to have tawbah, right? You have to not want to do it again. And you have to feel sorry about doing it. You have to actually feel guilty, right? You have to connect to that. Number 2 is to do the tawbah salah, which is doing the intention, doing 2 raka'at, right? With that intention of wanting forgiveness for that. And number 3 is to mean to not do it again. Your intention here is to ask for forgiveness truly and repentance and not do it again. Now, if you think you are not capable of not doing it again, just do salatul istighfar, right? Where your intention is just to be forgiven for the specific thing that you've done recently. And inshallah, you'll write off these sins, thereby getting ahead of 99%. Because the 99% of us have sins under our account. And guess what that does? It invites the punishment of Allah. And I've spoken about it in depth in the 10x Deen and Dunya course, I think in my Tazkiyah Nafs module. But the effect of sins is large. You lose money, you lose ilm, you lose good friends, you lose a lot that could be because of the sins. So if we wipe that from our account, imagine how light we'll feel. Imagine we are chasing that akhirah, like I said, by getting ahead of 99% just by doing tawbah, by getting a clean slate. Ask for that clean slate. Go and strive for that clean slate. And every single day, even after salah, you should focus on your stuff, you're asking forgiveness. I think it's something that we are very lax in, and something we can get much better at, that the Sahaba used to do. Next, number 3, excel in deen, status in Jannah. Our heroes didn't strive for status in dunya so that you could be seen as the number 1 person in the world, or this thing. Trust me, you look at any single person in this niche in terms of self-improvement, not even Islamic self-improvement, you go up and you go down. Everyone, every celebrity, everyone who gains some sense of popularity in this dunya, just like the dunya itself, is temporary. So do you want temporary status? Oh yeah, the good to get girl. No. Animalistically, we want status, but transfer that status desire to status in Jannah. Status with Allah. The best of men. The Anbiya. May Allah send peace and blessings upon all of them. These are men who, that's status with Allah. You look at the Sahaba, they had status with Allah, being mentioned by Him. Even the Sahabiyat, mentioned by Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah Azza wa Jal gave salam to Khadija radiallahu anha. That is the type of Muslim you should want to be, where you want status with Allah. And that comes from striving in ways that most people don't strive. It comes from trying to get the attention of Allah Azza wa Jal. And that's the goal. If you pray when everyone's praying. Trust me. You think you go to Jum'ah and mashallah, beautiful. Buddy, Jum'ah happens the whole world at different times. All around the world, people are still in whole rows praying to Allah Azza wa Jal. You're not special. Try and focus on gaining that status with Allah. And that's the goal. You want to excel in the deen. And a few of the three things that the Sahaba used to do that we must replicate, the top 1% Muslims, is number one, they did jihad fi sabilillah. How many of us exert ourselves in the path of Allah, truly intended just for the path of Allah, with the reward of Allah? I think a lot of us want to gain the reward of this life and the next at the same time. And that's why I specifically made my dawah channel, my second channel, nothing to do with this channel. This is a business. I always tell you guys, I'm trying to run a company. I'm trying to make a wonderful business to provide value for Muslims. That's this channel. The Dawah channel, nothing to do with this. You can subscribe to that. I would love you to. That's where I do this like Dawah podcast video thing, where I talk about topics relating to trying to spread the message and trying to spread khair and forbid evil, basically, right? That's what we should be doing. Look at the Sahaba. They did Dawah. Mus'ab ibn Umayr radiallahu anhu. As a young man, don't think that you're too young to do these things. Jihad. Young kids were doing jihad physically. Now, we may not have that option these days, or even if you exert yourself like that, it's in smaller forms, but that's what they were doing. That's what the Sahaba did. They put their lives on the line. They put their time on the line. They put their money on the line. They spread knowledge. They seeked and spread knowledge fi sabilillah. Like, when you do something for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, the reward is not here. That's if Allah wants, the reward will be here. Whether that's like, for example, let's say Shaykh Uthman, may Allah Azza wa Jal bless him and grant him tawfiq to stay upon the haqq, and grant him Jannah as well as us, But his popularity didn't come because he wanted the popularity, as apparently seen. It's because he just did the da'wah and the popularity came. That can be the reward from Allah Azza wa Jal. Wonderful. But when you did it, your intention was nothing here. It was just to please Allah. It was just to spread the message. That's the type of striver we should be doing, because that's what the Sahaba did. That's what set them apart in terms of gaining that status. Now, number two is to be ibadah locked in. You should have your ibadah locked in, your Quran, your salah, your qiyam. You should be working on getting it locked in. You should not be missing days. You should not be, this is not the Sahaba in general. May Allah be pleased with them. Their strive in this deen was unlike what we have now. The fact that it is praiseworthy, and I'm saying because our mindset should be stronger, the fact that it is praiseworthy to pray of fard salawat is crazy to me. When I look at my heroes, I see that this is like a random Tuesday. What do you mean it's praiseworthy? That's crazy. That's 99% mentality of the Muslims. We want 1%. We want to be like them. Where qiyam was normal. Where giving up your life was normal. Giving up your time was normal. That's what they did. Their ibadah was the next level. 30-day Ramadan was not praiseworthy. It was hoping. It was normal. Preparing 6 months in advance. That is what they did. That is what I'm talking about. That level of ibadah locked in. That level of, and we'll talk about striving in your nafs. That's what we want. And number three is knowledge. The knowledge of the Sahaba was very strong. Of course, they had the ability to ask Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but they used to have halaqat in the masjid. They would attend and they would talk about what they learned from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They would talk about it. They would spread it. They would learn it. They would seek the knowledge. Man, Sahaba would travel from Sham to Egypt just to get knowledge. Things like that, right? Like traveling long distances just for the knowledge. So it's so easy for us to gain knowledge nowadays, man. Whoever travels a path in search of knowledge, Allah will make easy for him a path to paradise. Sahih Muslim. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that to us. So look at Abdullah ibn Abbas and his status because of his knowledge. Look at Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiallahu anh and his status because of the knowledge. Seek knowledge. I don't get why this is not a concept that most of us do. You go to, traditionally I come from a bound family, so in terms of half my Muslim family, it's just madrasa for what? to 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and then what? You think you're a sheikh? We have to seek knowledge until we die. Like, it's just a constant battle to continue getting more and more knowledge. This is what the Sahaba had, and this is why they had a better path to paradise. And you fall in love with it. So seek knowledge if you're not already. That's how you excel in that status. Next is to lock in dunya, the caliph. Now, Allah Jallala Jalalahu mentions He made us khulafa on the earth in the Quran. You can go check. We are deputies, successors. We have been given the responsibility of the earth. What are we going to do with it? Therefore, we have to strive in dunya in order to, not dunya so we can get the yachts and the girls and the, to uplift the deen of Allah. To grant izzah to Islam by the will of Allah Azza Jal, right? That He allows you to be that form. To build and grow things in order to serve humanity and to serve the ummah. That is why we strive in dunya. It is not just because it's fleeting. If you're really striving for money is, it's a transaction tool. So many people live and die for money. Is that it? Is that the purpose? No. Why do you strive in dunya? I've spoken about this a lot, but it's to strive and serve under the banner of Islam. So where it comes to your craft, you look at, for example, Abdurrahman ibn Auf radiallahu anh. He was amazing at being a tradesman. Amazing. Right? May Allah bless him, bro. Well, he's dead. May Allah be pleased with him. Amazing. That's what we should learn. Doing your job with ihsan. So when you get a job or your business, it's not just, I need to get my highest pay. No, it's to be the best. Your intention is to serve the ummah most of all, but even better in humanity. Saving one life is as if you saved all of humanity. So when you're a doctor, you're not a doctor because you want to get a Porsche, like the kuffar. You're a doctor because you're there to save lives. You're there to be the best you can be under the banner of Islam. Holding this beard, that's the banner. So many of us are so afraid of holding this banner. People must know that you hold the banner of Islam. You see this man right here? That's who you should be. Striving with that banner. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. People must know. So that you can spread and grant izzat. Imagine somebody who hates Islam. You saved their life because you're a doctor by the will of Allah. And now they turn into a Muslim. That is what we're talking about here. We're talking about using your craft to serve people, to grant good resources to people, to help people, whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you have a job. You better be the best. You better be the best, and you study and you work and you learn. Why? Because you're serving. Because that's the purpose. You're being the deputy. You are building in this dunya. Number 2 is your body. To be strong and fit to protect. This is a part of us. Honestly, let's speak. As men, a part of our job is to provide and to protect. Genuinely. Like the Sahaba didn't ask for handouts. And it was widely discouraged by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You look at him teaching Sahaba how to make money. SubhanAllah, look at our example of our Prophet, peace be upon him. Teaching the Sahaba how to make money. We must not neglect that. We actually should be really good at it so we can actually serve Allah Azza Jal. How you gotta fund the da'wah by the will of Allah, like a rizq from Allah, but you gotta find a way for that rizq to come to you. And to work really hard for that to happen. Who's gonna fund the da'wah campaign? Who's gonna fund it? It's not by getting funding from riba to build masajid. It's getting funding from providing value in the marketplace, whether it's a job or business, and using that to spread fi sabilillah. To use your provision so that you can fulfill your responsibilities at home. So that you can have more kids, and those kids can be Muslims, and they can spread the knowledge, learn the knowledge, all that stuff. Why is it not a bad thing? Your body, to be strong and protect. I'm not saying that being strong and being muscular is the only thing you need. You need iman, of course. To really fight, you need iman, and to win, But if there is a hijabi on the train, scratch that. Not just a hijabi. If there is a Jew or a Christian or a kafir woman on the train getting harassed by a guy with a machete in London, what are you doing? I said in London because that's just the easiest way to explain it. What are you going to do? As a Muslim, you fight for justice for anybody. What are you doing? Who's going to have the amount of strength to be able to do that? If you don't have the confidence in your competence of fighting, of being strong, of being intimidating so you can stop the fight, how are you going to uplift and serve people? How are you going to uplift and serve the deen? Sheikh Uthman, he's being stabbed are you ready to be stabbed for this religion? I'm genuinely asking you. I'm not saying it's going to happen. Allah forbid. I don't want this to happen. But are you ready for that? Are you ready to be strong enough to strive for the justice? Because that is what the caliph does. That's what the deputy does. Use that title. It is not just the title of Amir al-Mu'mineen. You may not be Amir al-Mu'mineen, but you are the caliph. You are the deputy. and you have a job. Number 3 is your character. Show people your akhlaq. When you strive in dunya with the kuffar, with the Muslims, show them what it's like to be a practicing Muslim. Show them what it's like to be a Muslim who strives in his deen. Follow Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's akhlaq. Show them the beauty, that noor. Attract people to the deen. That's the goal. That's the caliph. That is what we want. And ultimately, that is why we got to lock in dunya. To use all our faculties, our knowledge, our resources, our strength to serve humanity, to serve the Muslims, to uplift the deen of Allah. Umar ibn Khattab used his strength by the will of Allah to uplift, to give izzah to Islam. Don't you want to be like that? Hamza, the best, the best of fighters, were the ones who were so vital in fighting fi sabilillah. Of course, Allah gave them izzah and allowed them to have their tawfiq correct for them to fight amazingly. But they were the ones who the Muslims needed. You know, there's some ayat in the Quran where some people, they're basically along these lines, but like, the people pray to Allah asking for someone to help them from the oppressors. Are you going to be the one who helps them or not? Are you going to be the one who helps the reformer who comes every 100 years? Or are you going to be the reformer? Do you see this mindset? It's next level, brother. You cannot be 99. You got to be 1%. And that's the way that you win this life and the next. By fighting not for the... You're annoying, because I really wanted that. My flaw in myself and what I words and what I let program in my mind wanted this. Why? I'm not saying don't enjoy your portion. And I think that when you strive like this, and inshallah Allah grants you immense rizq, you can enjoy the portion of the dunya that you should. But you also fulfilled your responsibilities. You ran away from kufr. You made sure that you only eat halal. You don't make any mistakes. You use your money for that. Use your money to strive to buy places of knowledge. Imagine making the business now you can buy a membership to AMAU. Come on, man. That's the type of stuff I'm saying to buy. That's the type of stuff I'm saying we should strive in for that. But okay. And lastly, number 5, annihilate haram and bad habits. This is the disease of our time. This is what holds back 99% of those who strive for the 1%. This is what changes the status of your nafs, the purification of them. This is what set the Sahaba apart from the Muslims. The state of their soul, the state of how they were ready to give everything up, the state of how their Islam, ultimately, their submission to Allah Azza wa Jalla and His laws. When something is haram, it's haram. When food is haram, and you don't know if it's halal, you vomit it out. This is what I'm talking about. That's an example of Abu Bakr. But when you're not sure, this is not the level of Islam that we have. Because the state of our heart is not good enough. And I would not do it justice trying to explain this video. It's such a big topic, it's really long. But I do have resources for you to get knowledge on this, inshallah, and like practically how to get rid of this and fight annihilating haram and bad habits, inshallah. The first thing is the free 10x Deen and Dunya program. I do have the Annihilate Haram Habits Light, a whole module in Jihad wal Nafs, inshallah, so that people who can't afford the program, you can still get like enough understanding there to fight. But if you truly want to significantly decrease your haram habits in 90 days, you truly want the system that will annihilate your haram habits in time with strive and with genuine following of the system, it's there for you, inshallah. Links in the description, that's all there. The free 10x Deen and Dunya program is also available. And inshallah, if you want to subscribe to the channel, because we have a mission of annihilating sin and weakness in the Muslim males of the Ummah, that would be appreciated. Jazakallah khair, and wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.